I wasn't always a top student. In fact, I was failing so badly I almost gave up completely. But then something changed. Not overnight, not magically, but with one powerful realization. How often do you promise yourself, this time will be different? This time I'll get serious, only to repeat the same cycle again and again? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. I've been there. Completely lost, struggling, failing. But what if I told you that failure was the best thing that ever happened to me? There was a time I couldn't even look at my grades without feeling sick. I avoided checking results. I stopped participating in class. I lost confidence not just in school, but in myself. I remember one specific day that broke me. I was sitting in a crowded classroom. My lecturer returned our test scripts, face unreadable. When he got to me, he didn't even say my name. He just dropped the paper on my desk. The red ink stared back at me like blood on white cloth. 28%. That wasn't just a number. That was proof. Proof that I was a failure. Proof that I didn't belong. Or so I thought. But the truth? I didn't fail because I was stupid. I failed because I had no system, no structure, no belief in myself. And most importantly, I didn't know how to fight back. People love to say, just study harder. But no one tells you how to study smarter. No one talks about how your brain shuts down when anxiety takes over. No one tells you what to do when your room feels like a prison and your books become weapons of self-hate. I would wake up with good intentions, telling myself I'd be productive. But the moment I faced the mountain of things I had to do, I froze. I'd open a textbook and suddenly feel like I was drowning in confusion. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 4, and I had done nothing. Sound familiar? You see, the problem wasn't laziness, it was mental clutter. I had no direction, no clarity, just noise. Let me paint you a picture. You wake up and grab your phone, scroll Instagram, like a few posts. Compare yourself with someone who just aced their exams. Now you're already anxious. You get up, distracted. Try to study, but your phone lights up with notifications. You open WhatsApp, then YouTube, then TikTok. One video becomes 5. An hour gone. You finally sit at your desk, but your mind is fried. Then guilt sets in. You start thinking, I wasted the whole morning again. I'll just start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next semester. And slowly you begin to convince yourself, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But let me ask you, what if the problem isn't you, but the system you're using? Because here's what no one tells you. Success isn't about motivation. It's about momentum. And momentum starts with the smallest shift in your mindset. Let me explain. Imagine you're in the middle of the ocean. No map, no compass, no stars, just water in every direction. That's what studying without a system feels like. You don't need more willpower, you need direction, you need a compass. That was me. Floating aimlessly until I decided to build my own compass. One day, I asked myself a simple but powerful question. What if I stopped trying to do everything and started with just one thing? That's it. One subject, one topic, 1 hour. I started waking up 30 minutes earlier, not to study, but to think. I asked, what am I struggling with? What's holding me back? What can I do today that's manageable, not perfect? I built what I now call my minimum effective routine. And that's when the shift began. The first step to becoming a top student? Get clear. Ruthlessly clear. Every night before bed, I wrote down exactly 3 things I wanted to do the next day. Not 10, not 20, just 3. Example, revise. Chapter 2 of biology. Practice 5 math questions. Watch 1 tutorial video on essay writing. That's it. This small shift stopped me from being overwhelmed. It turned my study day from chaotic to focused. It's like cleaning your room. You don't start by looking at the mess. You start by picking up one thing. Let me ask you, what if you stopped worrying about finishing the whole book? and focused on mastering one chapter a day, how much better would you feel? How much more progress would you make? Becoming a top student is like building a house. You don't throw bricks randomly and hope it becomes a mansion. You lay one brick at a time with patience and precision. I started showing up every day, not perfectly, but consistently. One brick, 1 hour, one win. Your mornings shape your mindset. Instead of waking up to distractions, I created a 20-minute morning habit. 5 minutes of silence or prayer. 5 minutes of journaling my top 3 goals. 10 minutes of reviewing flashcards or summaries from yesterday. That was it. This tiny ritual did something incredible. It gave me control. Because when you own your morning, you stop being a victim of your day. Within 2 weeks, I noticed something different. I wasn't just studying more, I was studying better. I started raising my hand in class again. My grades didn't shoot up instantly, but my confidence did. And confidence? That's where everything changes. When you begin to believe, truly believe, that you're capable of growth, the game changes. Think about this. What if you've never actually failed? What if you've just never been shown how to win? Because I promise you this, you're not dumb. You're not broken. You're just one decision away from a different path. Most students make this mistake. They spend 90% of their time studying, and only 10% understanding how they study best. You might be putting in the hours, but are you actually learning? Ask yourself, do I understand how my brain remembers information? Am I studying when I'm most alert, or when I'm half asleep? Am I working smart, or just working hard? Here's what I did. I flipped the script. I spent time learning about how learning works. I found out that my brain works best in focused sprints, not long, exhausting marathons. That's where I discovered the Pomodoro method. 25 minutes of focused work, 5 minutes of rest, repeat 4 times, then take a longer break. This technique did wonders. Instead of dragging through 3-hour study blocks, I worked in short bursts, and I actually retained what I studied. And here's the best part. Those small wins created momentum, and momentum made me hungry for more. Imagine chopping down a tree with a dull axe. You swing harder and harder, sweating, frustrated, exhausted. But if you take time to sharpen your axe, you cut the tree in half the time. Your brain is that axe. Sharpen it by learning how you study best, and your results will double. Let's be honest, time is not your problem. Time management is. I used to say, I just don't have enough hours in the day. But then I realized every top student has the same 24 hours I do. What's the difference? They plan their day. They don't react to it. So I started using a method called time blocking. Here's how it works. I take a blank sheet every morning, or the night before. I divide the day into chunks, morning, afternoon, evening. I assign specific tasks to each block. No vague to-do lists, just from 9 to 10 a.m., revise history notes. 10:30 to 11 a.m., practice 5 physics problems. The result? I stopped feeling overwhelmed. Because I wasn't guessing anymore, I was executing a plan. And when life got in the way, I adapted, I adjusted, but I stayed in motion. What would happen if you stopped wishing for more time? And started using what you already have with laser focus? Let's talk about the enemy of all progress, procrastination. It's sneaky. You don't even notice it creeping in. 1 minute you're thinking about studying. Next thing you know, you're watching a cooking video, then a documentary on whales, then cleaning your room for no reason. Here's the truth. Procrastination doesn't happen because you're lazy. It happens because starting feels overwhelming. So I built what I call an anti-procrastination ritual. It's a 3-step mental hack to start when I don't feel like it. Tell yourself, just 5 minutes. That's it. Just open the book and do 5 minutes. Use a countdown. Say out loud, 3, 2, 1. Go. Yes, it sounds silly, but it works. Remove all friction. Keep your study tools ready the night before. Don't rely on motivation, rely on environment. Once I started using this system, I stopped waiting to feel ready. And I started building consistency. because action creates clarity, and clarity kills procrastination. A few weeks in, my grades started climbing. Not because I suddenly became a genius, but because I finally had a system I believed in. I started getting B's, then A's. My professors started noticing. One even said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." But the biggest change? How I saw myself. I was no longer the failing student, I was the rising student. And that belief, that identity shift, it fueled everything else. Let me ask you a serious question. Who are you becoming? Every day you make choices, and those choices are either feeding your fears or your future. So what will you choose? Will you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, or will you decide right now to rebuild your identity? You're not just a student, you're a leader in your own life. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to show up every day with purpose. Here's something that changed everything for me. I stopped studying to impress others. I started studying to invest in myself. When your reason is external, grades, praise, approval, you'll burn out. But when your reason is internal, growth, mastery, belief, you'll rise. Every time I opened my book, I told myself, this isn't just for school, this is for me, for my future, for the version of me I want to become. That's what gave my work meaning, and when something has meaning, it becomes sustainable. Let me tell you something that no one talks about. Success is quiet. It happens behind the scenes. It happens when no one is watching. It's waking up early when it's hard. It's choosing focus when distractions scream for your attention. It's believing in yourself when there's no evidence yet. It's not loud, it's not flashy. But over time, it speaks for itself. I didn't become a top student overnight. There were setbacks, bad days, doubt. But I kept showing up. Because the goal wasn't to be perfect, the goal was to be relentless. So now it's your turn. What story are you writing for yourself? Is it one of excuses or evolution? Will your future self thank you for the choices you made today? Or regret them? You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Pick one habit. Build your compass. Lay your first brick. And if you fall, get up. Learn, adjust, keep going. Because the truth is, you're not behind, you're just beginning.